So this is from a site called venturebeat.com. And this is, it says how Cinelytic is using AI to help Hollywood reboot for the streaming wars. And this is a pretty long article, and it gets a little bit technical in some places. So I'll try to give you basically the Reader's Digest version of it, okay? Basically, this company has come up with an AI tool to help these new streaming providers that are just getting into the game. We're talking about HBO Max first and foremost. We're talking about services like Peacock. We're talking about services like Disney Plus, because they don't have the experience in the streaming platforms that Amazon and Netflix do. And what that really comes down to is they don't have the raw data that Netflix and Amazon do. One thing that I always think is interesting about the streaming wars and streaming platforms in general is how closed off they are. You don't really know how successful a show is on Netflix. You just don't know. They do not release their numbers. That stuff is all internal. So you really don't know what's a hit and what isn't. I know Nielsen is trying to work on that so that they can get ratings for streaming platforms. In fact, I know they did that with Amazon, where there was a thing where they've started doing that with them. But strictly speaking, they only do it if you're watching it on your television. So like if you have a smart TV, they're calculating that. But if you're watching it on your laptop, they're not calculating that. And that's a legitimate gripe of streaming platforms. But because Amazon and Netflix have been around so long, they are sitting on just what's, data that's basically worth its weight in gold, because they have all this user information, just pools and pools of user information. And of course, they use that information to make their content, to tailor their content, to decide what does our audience want? What is our audience going to be interested in? Well, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Peacock don't have that advantage because they're just starting out. Disney Plus hasn't been around long enough where they can really kind of know their users. This is all about data mining. This is what the whole point of the internet is in the first place. It's all about data mining. And Netflix and Amazon are so far ahead of these other platforms that they need a way to catch up. So this company has come up with an AI system so that they can start to catch up. And it's really crazy. It's really interesting because they're talking about things like basically an executive at studio is going to be able to say, okay, so let's just say, for example, we're going to do that Game of Thrones series with Arya Stark that was mentioned earlier in the program. Okay, let's see how this works. So we're going to put in Arya Stark into this AI and see how that seems to trend with our audience. Is that something that they want? Then we can, maybe trend the name of the actress and see if her name is popular with them. And then maybe all of a sudden they decide, you know what? Actually, who's really popular is this actress. So what if we recast Arya Stark? Will that give us more money? That's how intense this program is. That's the kind of stuff they're talking about doing, is being able to put that kind of information in so that you can get that leg up and you can theoretically know which programs you're doing are going to be more popular and ultimately more profitable. It's really crazy. It's really, really interesting stuff. And again, it's not like Netflix and Amazon aren't doing the same thing. It's just that they're doing it a completely different way because they already have all the data on their audience and they're able to just plug those kinds of things in already. I mean, that's the whole point. It's like you don't even need a test audience anymore because you have all this data and you can tell, like for instance, on my Netflix account, you can tell which actors it is that I'm watching, which actors tend to be popular for me. So what this AI is doing is it's trying to help these other players in the streaming wars catch up so they can do the same thing that ultimately Amazon and Netflix have probably been doing for the last 5 years, at least. It's pretty interesting.
Well, that is interesting. And along those same lines, I have something that looks like it's actually trying to break right now. Comicbook.com is actually reporting, and I'm going to segue why I'm going to throw this in here in just a second. Henry Cavill returning as Superman for future DC Comics movies. So it says, after news of Zack Snyder's Justice League stunned many DC Comics fans, the hits just keep on coming now as it appears that Henry Cavill will once again reprise his role as Superman in future projects for Warner Brothers Pictures. This Comic Time has learned that Cavill will reprise the role of Clark Kent, though for now a sequel to Man of Steel is not currently in the works with the studio. Instead, it sounds like Cavill's Superman will operate in a similar capacity to Marvel's use of Nick Fury and the Hulk, appearing in films in a supporting role or even smaller cameos. And then it goes on to say the new deal is part of the reason that Cavill appeared on Zack Snyder's live stream rewatch of Man of Steel last week, the same stream where Snyder announced that his cut of Justice League is coming to HBO Max. Cavill debuted as Superman as Man of Steel and played the role again as Superman, Dawn of Justice, blah, 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 blah. So the reason I'm bringing this up, and someone just sent this to me, the reason I'm bringing it up, because I feel like it dovetails into this, because there is a very strong, positive feeling for Henry Cavill as Superman amongst a lot of people. A lot of people didn't care for Man of Steel, but a lot of people do feel like that Cavill, makes a good Superman. And he seems to be, very popular with the idea of him playing Superman. And I know there was a lot of people upset at the fact when they found out that he was basically done as Superman. And I could see where this AI, if they're using this, if they're floating these ideas around, because a lot of this stuff with them announcing the Snyder Cut, did you notice how much of that was featuring Cavill as Superman? Because there's a lot of people that want to see Cavill in that black Superman suit from the Death of Superman storyline. And I have this, I wonder if that announcement, in conjunction with the Zack Snyder cut, because of the movement for that film and this, I wonder if they're all, kind of connected.
Well, I think they are. I mean, obviously Henry Cavill is in Justice League, and he's going to be in the Snyder cut. They're not going to recast him. I mean, they're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. So I mean, they're related just on the surface of things. There's no doubt in my mind they're related. And I think you're right. There's a lot of fans that even if they don't really like the films, they like him. They like him in that role.
Yeah.
So I think that there's definitely a lot of fans that feel that way.
I have this feeling that there could be something to, them plugging data or having information or whatever and extrapolating out these different things that they go, oh, we should probably do this, we should probably do that. With all this interest all of a sudden and all of a sudden, Warner's and HBO is leaning into the Zack Snyder cut really heavy. And then this other news is breaking. I just wonder if it's that same idea. It's like that this data, is beginning to support the idea that's like, oh, well, maybe the DCEU wasn't as bad as we thought. Maybe we can still turn this around and make this work and actually have our investment pay off, by retooling a few things and looking at this in a different perspective. I don't know. I just feel like these things are connected a little bit more than maybe we initially realize.
Well, Bobby had this comment earlier. He said, when I was talking, he said, that's crazy. Analytics are going to drive the direction of creativity. And it is to a certain extent, Bobby. Well, I should say it's already been happening. The point of this article is to basically say Amazon and Netflix have already been doing this because they have enough data that they're able to do this without this AI. They already have it. They already have the AI within their programs to kind of understand these things. And it's not so much about the direction of the creativity as it is about what we're just talking about right now, things like casting decisions and what actors are trending and what actors are popular for this particular brand. What do people want to see? Do they want to see Henry Cavill as Superman? Or do they want to see Brandon Roth come back as Superman? Or do they want to see somebody else be Superman? That's kind of the thing that's going on here. And this has been going on for a long time. They use other methods such as, Google Trends. You see what's trending along with Snyder Cut. anybody who does marketing, they're looking at that. And if they see that Henry Cavill's name is trending right along with Snyder Cut, then stuff like what Dave is just talking about, that's how it happens. Then they start to say, okay, we need to talk to Henry Cavill about coming back. You know what I mean? Or doing more because he's really trending along with what we're doing right now. They coincide together. So this stuff has been happening, I think, for a long time. I don't know. I can't say specifically, you know, in this circumstance or that circumstance, that's what happened. But I could totally see it happening. Is what I'm trying to say. Because when they see what's going on with all this, you know, with all the search engine activity, which you and I can do that. You and I can go look and see what's popular, you know, for various search terms and how much is being searched and in what context and what other things are being searched along with this same thing. That's just what they're doing. They're trying to collate all that data so they can look at that kind of stuff and make those kinds of decisions and decide, yeah, we're gonna bring back Henry Cavill. We're gonna bring back Brandon Roth. You know, Chris Roberts says Brandon Roth did come back as Superman on TV for Legends of Tomorrow, which was actually something that Dave covered quite a bit on our program. The whole TV Legends of Tomorrow, and also the whole Crisis of Infinite Earths. You did a lot of coverage of that, Dave.
Yeah, we did. I think it was when the show was more an audio show, and then we actually did an add-on supplement specifically about Superman and talking about what was potentially, hopefully, we thought at that time, going to be happening with the Crisis event. So
we actually have a few. We have several trailer reactions for Crisis of Infinite Earths on the YouTube. A couple of them. I think there was at least 2 trailers that we did trailer reactions to.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember because we did I know we did an audio because we did an audio special about it too. Because I remember because my brother actually came on and we did a Superman specific special episode and talked about Crisis too. We did a lot of coverage for Crisis. I was very excited for Brandon Routh to be playing the quote unquote Kingdom Come, you know, version of Superman. And I still think there's a lot of potential there. You know, if they were to actually test that information, I think they determine it's like, oh, there's a lot of interest in this. So I'm not sure the max potential for that has been reached yet. So,
well, that's potentially the kind of thing they would use this AI for, is to see would Brandon Roth work as Superman again. Yeah. That's really what this AI would be meant to be used for. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Do you have anything else for Streaming Wars, or is that good?
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and maybe we'll segue over into our main topic for tonight's show.
Bobby had just one last quick question about this topic, and he said, "Do you feel that it takes away from the passion of the project?" And Bobby, I'm very different in the way that I view filmmaking because I actually primarily work as a producer. So I try to look at, the entire picture. And so that means that I have to look at budget, I have to look at casting, I have to look at story, I have to look at all sorts of different things. Whereas when you talk about people that are more only, I should say, I can't say only, because even people that are highly creative in Hollywood at high levels have to think about the same things I'm thinking about right now. Directors have to think about this kind of stuff, and generally people say that film is a director's craft. That's generally the way that that's generally the way it's perceived. You know, directors are the artist, if you are, of the film world. Just as, you know, actors, their main thing is theater. Okay, and then you talk about writing. It's like novels, you know, novelizations, and you can go on and on and on with different jobs. But you know, when you're trying to produce a film, you have to look at all of that stuff because you want the film to be seen, you want it to be profitable. You have to think about all those kinds of stuff. So I actually get passionate about all those things. I don't just get passionate about the story, which I do get very passionate about, because when I see a good story, I'm like, this is cool. I want to do this. but I have to think about the other aspects of it. And for me, that's still fun. Now, for other people, they might care less. They could care less about all that stuff. But for me, I feel like it's just part of the gig. So I don't think it really takes away from the passion of the project. Like I would love a tool where I could actually look and see, kind of almost in real time as I'm considering someone for a particular role. And by the way, I'm not at the level where I would be able to do this because I'm dealing with actors that you've never heard of. But if I had that ability, I just think it would be such an amazing tool to have. So it wouldn't just be my opinion. You see, that's the other side of it. Is it wouldn't just be my opinion. It wouldn't just be me saying, you know what, I prefer Brandon Roth over Henry Cavill as Superman. I just like him. He reminds me of Christopher Reeves, and I just feel like he should be Superman. And I'm just making that decision based on what I think. And that's basically the way decisions are made in Hollywood. That's they decide, well, this is who I think would do it right. Of course, there's market research and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of it is subjective. It's their opinion. And it would be nice to have a tool where I had numbers to back up my opinion and say, oh yeah, well, a lot of other people think the same thing you do. They totally think the same thing you do. Or it would be nice to be able to say, no, they don't. Like, yeah, there are people that think that, but far more people actually think Henry Cavill would be a much better Superman. That's the kind of decisions that I think that it would be nice to have in your toolkit when you're trying to make a movie.
No, and that makes a lot of sense. And there's been much made about market research and anecdotal data that they use in order to help hopefully inform and help them to make a better decision. So this AI component doesn't seem completely out of left field. It seems to fit within a narrative of what they've been trying to do. Mitigate risk and mitigate risk. And find a way to maximize profits at the end of the day. And if they could use stuff like this in order to determine this person might be a better choice for this role versus this other person. I don't know if it necessarily means the creative direction suffers, to be honest, Bobby. In all honesty, it depends upon the project itself. I'm working on a project right now, and it's not my original idea, but someone else brought me in, thought I'd be good for this one particular thing. And I'm enjoying and I'm jazzed for the project because I like their idea so much. So, I don't think that you being brought on, you know what I mean, necessarily not having quote unquote total creative freedom means that, that the production would necessarily suffer. I think it depends upon the cares of all the different people associated with it and how much of an effort and how well it does when it turns time to reach out, with that project and try and find, support for it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.